gun pointing down. I blinked as I looked at that T-34. It was perhaps 200 meters away, outlined against the skyline. And through the mist on my vision block, I thought I saw the verdamn thing moving its gun.
What's this?
What the Scheisse, Kurt grunted beside me. That Ivan is moving. I wasn't sure what I was seeing. This smashed, burned tank, with its tracks lying in spools on the step around it, was elevating its 76-millimeter gun, and its turret was traversing onto us. What the hell was going on here? Fire on the red, Hellman shouted over the headphones. The order was to our gunner, who lived with his face glued to the eyepiece of the gun sight. Fire on him! I heard our turret traverse with its drive motor as our gunner calibrated on the T-34, which now had its barrel pointed at our whole flank of 10 Panzers, aiming at hull sides where our armor was comparatively thinner.
Looks like we need to win.
Our other Tigers were traversing onto him too. All the crews had observed that this Hulk was apparently coming to life.
We gotta do this again. Okay.
That T-34 got off one single shot before he was blown to pieces. His muzzle flashed and spat fire, and at the same moment he was hit by half a dozen armor-piercing shells from the Tiger muzzle brakes that spat, smoked, and recoiled in unison at the intruder. In our turret, the huge gun barked, and the shell case sprang out with a clang. Two things happened straight away. First, the T-34 disintegrated as the broadside of 88-millimeter shells smashed into its armor at zero range. The turret split open, and for a moment I saw a man in there, a single gunner, twisting as his carapace was blown apart. Then he, too, disappeared as the hull below him was demolished, with the deck separating from the walls and the sloped glacis plate breaking into pieces that span away in the air like bits of a tin can. His ammunition in there exploded, and the mangled turret ring gave out a blast of sparks and flames that rose high above our column. A beacon of success. But at the same time, I saw that the Tiger at the very tip of our spearhead, our leading Panzer, was shuddering and throwing out metal treads from its tracks. Suddenly, its whole track on the right side came flying out backwards, thrashing in the wake of the rear idler wheel like a horsewhip. Track links broke off and hit the following Panzers. Then the damaged Tiger slowed down in a spray of mud and juddered to a halt. That red bastard hit the boss, Hellman said coolly over the headphones. The boss is stranded here now, the poor soul. Shall I halt, sir? I asked over the intercom. No Panzer can halt, Hellman replied. These are our orders. The boss was our commander, our Hauptmann, who had led the unit since the glory days of Barbarossa. Now Hellman, his second-in-command, would automatically take over the leader's role. Kurt winked at me over the bulkhead separating us. To lead the heavy Panzer unit into an attack, that was always Hellman's wish, and now he had it. The boss's damaged Panzer remained stranded while the following Tigers moved around it without slowing or losing formation. Briefly, I saw the immobilized Tiger as we went past it, with its track blown off by that single shell from the T-34 before the Russian was destroyed. The static Tiger's crew were starting to clamber from their hatches to assess the damage, but we could all see that the track was smashed, and the vehicle would be unable to move without a recovery Panzer to bring a whole new length of track links. Maybe that's a bad omen, Kurt muttered beside me, changing his mood. How did that wrecked Ivan manage to take a shot? Such is the Red Army, Hellman said without emotion, speaking from the turret through our headphones. They find a gunner who's made some mistake, they tell him his family will go to Siberia unless he dies a hero's death, and they put him in a wrecked tank that still has a halfway working gun. They tow it out here at night and dump it with him inside and a few shells. That's how it works, is it? Kurt said into the intercom. If I was him, I'd jump out and hand myself over to good German hospitality. Ah, but they put a padlock on the hatches, Hellman said, and they tell him to think of his lovely wife who won't enjoy the Arctic Circle. Now enough of talking, and let's watch for any more of these red games. We are close to the target here. The boss, sir, I said. He'll be okay, Faust. Keep driving.
Okay.
I had no time to reflect on what chance our stranded boss and his crew had of surviving in the steppe. We all knew that the disputed tundra held red infantry fighters hidden in layers who would begin to emerge and prowl around any immobilized panzer. But at that point, we had our own battle to fight. Ahead of us, the diving Stukas had left vertical trails in the freezing air that still remained sharp like twists of steel wire against the dawn. They pointed downward to the fires and clouds of dust where their bombs had struck, pulverizing the red bunkers and blockhouses that we were now to attack, to crush and overrun. We knew, though, that the Reds were at their most vicious when they'd taken a beating, like surly red dogs, Helmon often said. We were about 1,500 meters from the enemy bunkers, close enough to see the smoke drifting from the Stuka bomb craters. I was feeling jumpy, as I so often did in action, as each minute seemed to stretch out interminably, every second full of the threat of a mine under the tracks, or a heavy-caliber puck round smashing through the bulkhead beside my head. The stench of the Tiger's compartment was overlaid with the bitter scent of the 88mm blast. I wish it was over and we could start firing or maneuvering or anything other than advance under
Lord!
easier to in the 10 centimeters and the 12 centimeters. The 10 centimeters similar, and together in the center repeatedly. Russian
Finish this, guys.
T-34. Those lines of our bright red tracers. I saw one of the red which made the whole tank bounce. It was a pieces of and the turret to the blow. 38 millimeters. I saw the
Just grab it.
turret hatch, and the whole was out of control. I did not simple to watch for danger turned attention to the other two T-34s, who were now halted in a spray of mud some 500 meters from me. Their muzzles flashed, and I saw a green tracer race towards us. There was a crash from in front of me, and the electric light over my head exploded, showering me with fragments. My transmission raced for a moment, slipping the gears, and then I got the beast under control and prevented it sliding sideways onto the enemy. We were hit on the front plate beside my head, between Kurt and me, but the great tiger kept rolling slowly forward, and our 88 millimeter kept booming out from the turret behind me. Through the mist of blast gas, oil fumes, and exhaust in our hull, I saw in my vision slit the tank that had just fired being hit in the right-hand track, which flew up into the air, dragging with it the steel drive wheel. Crippled, it tried to reverse, but it simply dug a grave for itself with its running track, which raced around and sank deep into the mud. Its gun kept on firing, and the tiger beside us was hit on the turret in a shower of sparks, until one of our shells punched into the T-34's bow, close to its smashed front wheels, and split open the armor plate. We advanced as that tank began to burn and its crew began to emerge from the hatches to escape the flames. Next to me, the compartment echoed as Kurt loosed off 2 seconds from his gimbal-mounted MG-34, catching the Russians as they clambered out onto the hull and turret. He cut them down, then ceased fire, breathing hard and cursing to himself. I never knew if he liked the killing